Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Hey friends, it's Charles here, and today I want to go back in time and talk about Blade Runner 2029. This is a series I got into right when it came out. I was actually collecting back then, and I wasn't real familiar with the movie franchise of Blade Runner. I had seen Blade Runner Black Lotus, the anime on what was it, Cartoon Network, I believe it was, and I was really hooked from that story. And eventually, Titan Comics did put out a Black Lotus run that was different than the cartoon in very cool ways. Though it wasn't a letdown at all. But that's how I got introduced to this world, and I started going back collecting back issues, starting with Blade Runner 2029. I got a few issues of 2019, and then I got a whole run of 2049, I believe. And this is Blade Runner 2029, number one, and it features Ashina, who is a Blade Runner. She has a back injury that is debilitating, so it's something I can relate to, being disabled myself. But if you're not familiar, what Blade Runners do is they are a special task force that is assigned to take out replicants. Replicants were near human robots that were made for service. And when they had escaped this work planet that they were on, they found their way back to Earth, and they didn't want the replicants assimilating into society, so they sent the Blade Runners to neutralize them. And Ashina is one of them, one of the elite ones. But what you come to find out through this series is that she is a double agent, because she is in love with a replicant, and actually eventually gets some replicant technology that helps her with her physical disabilities. And we find that there are a lot of parallels in this between what's going on in society now with the messages on pollution and migrant labor. One of the big wigs that hires her to go after this particular replicant finds out that they're doing construction on government property, and how they didn't want it out that they had skin jobs, which is a derogatory term for replicants working on this project. So it was a way they sent her in to kill this replicant to avoid something unseemly or embarrassing. And so you see a lot of parallels in modern society. And it starts with a flashback to, I believe, 2017. And if you look here, it is a very, very different 2017 than what we actually experienced. And I presume that this was something that was more realistic when the original movie came out. But I like that they stayed true to this vision of 2017 that the movie universe created. And we see here a replicant, Yutan, going in for a new identity. But he finds out that the person who's setting him up with the identity is the double agent himself, and that is when Ash first meets him. And he ends up dominating the confrontation and letting her live to show that replicants can be both powerful yet merciful. And after that scene, we jump to the future, 12 years later in 2029, and she is rescuing a replicant from someone who takes advantage of replicants and the fact that they do not have rights. And it is presumed that he does terrible things to female replicants. And so she darts him, and you think that she's arresting a replicant, but what she does is she actually sets her up with almost like an underground railroad network for replicants for her to start a new life. And you see why as the book goes on, as you go to her home life and the fact that she is in a relationship with a replicant. And then here is the part where I talked about the bigwig that sent her after this replicant working construction on the government job. And it's very interesting what they do here is they set the scene with a weather report talking about the air pollution quality, and how you're supposed to be out there in your protective gear and everything. And it's like, okay, well, why is that an important aspect of it? And when she gets to the construction site, she doesn't have to ask around to find out who the replicant is, because the toxic rain and the pollution doesn't affect replicants like it does humans. And so she instantly makes him, and seeing that she is a Blade Runner, he takes off. And a very cool chase, very action-packed chase continues. And they get to the roof, and the replicant throws himself off the roof right after he says, "Utun redeems." That is the character at the beginning who overpowered Ash and showed her mercy. And so what we're setting up here is Utun is like the leader of the replicant resistance. And it puts Ash in a particular difficult corner because she is a Blade Runner, but she's also a double agent trying to protect replicants. But does Utun know that? Does he care? You find out more as you get into the series, and trust me, I don't want to give away too many spoilers about future issues because it is a great story, a fun story from Titan Comics. I, go back to these books again and again and again for the quality. I think this is one of the better franchises that Titan puts out, along with Conan and other great franchises. But I think this is the top tier. And after this, we had Blade Runner 2049, Black Lotus, like I said, and currently they're doing Tokyo Nexus, which is a whole different set of characters based out of Tokyo, and that's been enjoyable as well. They believe they're on a break after a short 5 or 6 issue run. But get them while you can, and they're all in trade paperback form. I'm actually going to go back and finish off my 2019 collection with the trade paperbacks because I only have a couple of books from that. So go check it out at your local comic book store. And as always, if you don't have a local comic book store, go visit my friend Jeff at Coffee and a Comic, where you get free coffee, fresh ground and packed with every purchase of a comic book. They ship nationwide, and they have walking locations at Huntington Beach, to go check them out. Until then, keep reading them books. I'm out.